Dr. Phaedra Corso is the Associate Vice President for Research at IU and Vice Chancellor for Research at IU Indianapolis. She's also a professor of health policy at the Fairbanks School of Public Health. And she is, I think many of you know, you may have seen her picture on our wall. She is also a member of our Regenstrief Institute Board of Directors. So Dr. Corso is known nationally and internationally for her research in economic evaluation and economic impact assessment, primarily in the areas of violence, substance abuse, and obesity prevention. From 1991 to 2006, she conducted health economics research at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, co-developing a primer on how to conduct economic evaluation for public health interventions. During her time at the CDC, she held a variety of positions, including senior health economist for the Guide to Community Preventative Services, and also senior health economist for the National Center for Injury Prevention and Control. From 2006 to 2018, Dr. Corso joined the faculty at the University of Georgia's College of Public Health, where she served as the founding director of the Department of Health Policy and Management and associate director for the Owens Institute for Behavioral Research. As vice president for research at Kennesaw State University from 2018 to 2023, she created and managed a robust research infrastructure that resulted in a fourfold increase in external grant funding for the university during her tenure there. She holds a BA and an MPA in political science and public finance from the University of Georgia and a PhD in health policy with a concentration in decision sciences from Harvard. And I'll just add a personal anecdote that in addition to obviously getting to know Dr. Corso a lot on the board this year, I actually had an opportunity to work with Dr. Corso before I even got to Regenstrief. And we sat on the same study section together where Dr. Corso was our study section chair. So it's been great to work with her more this year. Really excited to have her today to and come to talk to the Regenstrief Institute, our staff, our faculty, our community about IU Indianapolis, other insights that she has had in the less than 2 years that she's been here at IU. So without further ado, welcome, Dr. Corso.
All right, thank you so much for the invitation. I don't know if you know this, but I actually came to present to you all a couple of months ago. My assistant got things mixed up, so I showed up, I don't know, was it the beginning of this semester? I had some lunch, I was ready with a presentation, and then I realized I was not the one that was speaking that day. So I'm here now speaking to you all. So I would love to be able to share some research with you. That's not what I'm doing today. Instead, I thought you might be interested to know kind of big picture what we're doing in the IU Research Office at IU, and then to talk specifically about some of the initiatives that we're doing here in Indianapolis. I am absolutely thrilled to be at Indiana University. I will tell you that I love the city of Indianapolis. As Rachel said, I've been here for 1.5 years, and I have fully embraced the city in a very meaningful way. And so I'm really enjoying my time here, living and working in the city. So what I'd like to do then is just to tell you a little bit big picture of IU Research. We have a brand new vice president for research that came about 2 months after I did. His name is Russ Mumper. Russ also worked with President Whitten at the University of Georgia. He worked in her provost office when she was serving as provost. And then he was the vice president for research at University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa for 4 years. So he comes to us with a great wealth of experience and is, I think, making some transformative changes within the research enterprise. So let me just start with the slides. And I'm going to have to look at what they say here. So just to give you just an overview of what the mission is for the Office of Research, it's really to support research and creative endeavors for all campuses. So not just Bloomington and not just Indianapolis, but all of our other 7 campuses. And so you'll see in the organization of the Office of Research, they provide a lot of services. I just came from a meeting this morning where Russ was presenting to the deans of IU Indianapolis and sharing his vision for IU research overall. He shared 11 points of light. I'm not going to do that, but I did want to share at least a few of the things that Russ said, because I think they're pretty meaningful of the direction that we're going. So the first thing he talked about was that IU has made some pretty significant key investments in research in the last couple of years that are noteworthy and have been transmitted, I think, to the public in a very meaningful way. The first major commitment of resources is 100, and these announcements came out last fall by the president's office. But the first commitment was $111 million commitment towards the Crane group in south of Bloomington to look at dual use uses for microelectronics and nanofabrication. So that's a pretty significant investment by IU. The second major announcement that came out last fall was a $250 million investment in life and biosciences. And so this should matter to us greatly here at the Regenstrief Institute, because the bulk of that $250 million is specifically here at IU Indianapolis, which I'll share some of those initiatives in a minute. So that was the first point that he made to the deans. The second one was that he's done some major restructuring of the IU Research Office and has committed at a minimum this fiscal year $6 million in internal funds available to researchers across IU. And part of those funds are in research equipment funding, which the Regenstrief Institute has now received some of those funding, which is wonderful. But it's also in seed grant funds. It's in funding available for holding conferences, funding available for graduate students. I think he's about to announce a very interesting internal funding opportunity around the layered learner model, where you have research labs that are comprised of undergraduates, graduate students, postdocs, and faculty that are working together for long-term, large-scale projects. So that initiative will likely come out in the spring. So a $6 million investment for internal funding is pretty significant. The third point he made was talking about organizational changes in his office. And he specifically mentioned the Office of Research Development. So these are the main offices that that research runs. I have to be careful that I don't have some feedback here. So the first one is the Office of Research Administration. So this is mostly pre-award and post-award services, which you all run in-house here at Regenstrief. We also have the Office of Research Compliance, which deals with IRB and lab safety and animal safety, and the Office of Research Development, which I'll talk about in a second. Corporate and Foundation Relations is an office that is specifically designed to help us strengthen our industry partnerships, which is very important for us here in Indianapolis, and then also to develop strong relationships with foundations. Innovation and Commercialization Office is around IP and commercialization, basically the translation arm of what we do in research. And then the last one is Research Security, which is around conflict of interest, making sure that we're being compliant with some of the federal laws that are coming in place. So in the Office of Research Development specifically, I don't have a slide on this, but I did want to mention to you that some of the significant changes we're making at IU is where we're putting our focus. And so if we really think about one of our main goals is to increase our research productivity and our ability to partner with corporate and industries and foundations, we need to focus our efforts on large-scale grants. So he's created a position within the Office of Research Development that specifically focuses on those grant opportunities that are in the $5 million plus range. And so if you are a faculty member or someone associated with IU that is going after a $5 million plus grant proposal, then there is a person that will be yours for the whole year-long process of producing that grant proposal that can help you shepherd that through. So I think that's pretty significant. The second new position that he's just hired for in the last couple of weeks is a staff member that is devoted to helping faculty achieve those national recognitions, whether it be a National Academies membership whether it's going after a Fulbright or going after being recognized for any other type of national award, we actually have staff that are specifically devoted to that now, which is pretty exciting. And then the third piece in the Office of Research Development that is significant is an increase in our proposal development services. So we have, we have research administration that just does pre-award and post-award and helps with budgets, but we now have a whole staff of people, 10, 15, 20 people that are dedicated to helping faculty and staff think through how to market their proposals to any funder that they're pursuing. So that was the third point. The fourth point that Russ mentioned to the deans this morning was our part of our strategic plan is around industry engagement. Well, how do you increase industry engagement? And part of what we've seen, at least historically here at IU, is that there's been a lot of one-off projects between faculty and industry. And so what Russ is really trying to do is to raise that up to the university level agreement. So we call these master agreements, but to have a shared understanding or vision between the industry and the university such that projects that faculty want to do can easily be done underneath that master agreement without a lot of delay with legal and contracts, et cetera. So that's a pretty exciting movement. And then changes in our IP policies, providing lots more intellectual property ownership back to faculty inventors, faculty and student inventors, and then also capping the royalties that IU would go after in conjunction with industry. I mean, these are tactical ways for us to improve our research endeavor. And then the last point I just want to raise is that IU's research and development expenditures right now are in the $950 million range. So we are very close to being $1 billion enterprise here at IU. This is inclusive of our School of Medicine, which accounts for a lot of that research and development. But what that means is once we hit that $1 billion mark, it's really going to put us in the top 20 schools, public schools across the United States. And so this is a real wonderful way for us to increase our reputation nationally and internationally. So my office is small and mighty. So my focus is here in Indianapolis. So as you know, we officially became IU Indianapolis July 1. And we have been tasked by Russ Mumper and our president Witten to really think through growing the research enterprise specifically here in Indianapolis. So when I got here, I was a person of one, and now I'm 4. So I feel like I'm doing a great job to expand my office. Sue Cassidy is our wonderful office manager who keeps everybody on time. And then Caleb Keith is here with me today. Caleb really functions as anything that I do, Caleb does as well. But I'll talk about a specific program that Caleb runs that if you have interest in undergraduate research opportunities, Caleb might be the person for you to talk to afterwards. And then Maylene Chu is providing some faculty development services for IU Indianapolis faculty specifically. And I'll tell you a little bit more about her in a second. So here, so we are tasked with implementation of IU Indianapolis strategic plan. I love the Regenstrief Institute new strategic plan. I think that we fit nicely alongside the strategic plan of Regenstrief, particularly with one of our institutes that I'll talk about in a second. But we have 4 main goals for our strategic plan. The first is growing our research portfolio, really thinking about the translation of research, which I know is very much part and parcel of what Regenstrief is all about. Goal 2 is around community engaged research. I'm not really going to talk a lot about that today. This is an extremely important thing that we do at IU Indianapolis. It's what we're known for doing. And quite honestly, I think there needs to be a lot of work on tightening up the definitions around what is community engaged research, so we can track it more effectively, which I don't necessarily think we, at least Office of Research, are doing very well right now. So I don't have much to say on this one, but I hope to come back and talk to you about this maybe next year when there's been more work on it. And then the third one is strengthening diversity, equity, and inclusion within the research enterprise. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about that today, but just know that there's lots of work behind the scenes and thinking through what that might look like. And then the last one is enhancing support for faculty excellence in research. And we'll talk a little bit about what Maylene's doing in that area. Okay, so goal 1, multidisciplinary collaborations, fostering these collaborations within and across the schools, inclusive of the School of Medicine, to engage in high impact research. So just for you to, if you don't know the organizational structure of IU, and I will say this is my third academic institution that I've worked at, and by far the most complex university. Anybody in this room can name a university more complex than IU? If you come talk to me, because I'd love to hear an example, because I don't think there is one. So the complexity here around the School of Medicine is the following. School of Medicine faculty count to IU Indianapolis. So when you look at data on students and faculty that come out of IPEDS on an annual basis, School of Medicine is counted with us. However, their research dollars are counted with Bloomington. Just mull on that for just a second. So a lot of the work that I'm doing, which is to try to increase the research portfolio of IU Indianapolis, is outside the School of Medicine, but we would be crazy not to include the School of Medicine in everything that we're doing, because they are a powerhouse in research here in Indianapolis. And so many of the schools that we have in Indianapolis, including Fairbanks School of Public Health and nursing and dentistry and health and human sciences, are all working in conjunction with the School of Medicine. So we are very respectful of them as our partners in this. So what have we been working on in the last year and a half since I've been here? So last summer, we pulled together a task force that we called the RAT, the Research Accelerator Action Team. Nobody liked the acronym but me, but I thought the RAT, we use RATs sometimes in research, so I thought it was perfectly appropriate. This group included the dean of the medical school and the dean of Fairbanks and the dean of nursing and dentistry. It included governmental relations. It included foundation support. And this was a group of people who got together to say, where are the strengths here in Indianapolis, IU Indianapolis, and what should we be looking towards areas of growth for us in the next decade? And so from that, we developed a report of the areas that we wanted to explore. We brought it to President Whitten, and she blessed it and gave us resources, and now we're moving. So we have 4 campus-wide research institutes that are under the purview of IU Research Indianapolis office, and we have 5 campus-wide research consortia. Consortia, what is the difference between consortia, a center, and institute? An institute is university-wide. A center is typically at the school level, although it certainly can be university-wide as well. And consortia are not quite there, but it's a gathering of faculty to develop the network such that they could become a center or an institute one day. So that's where we are. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each one of these institutes. The first institute that's under our purview has been around for over a decade. This is the IU Indianapolis Arts and Humanities Institute. So this is run by Jason Kelly, an outstanding human being who is the most abstract thinker I think I've ever met. And so he's a wonderful person to talk to and to have in the room when you're having any discussion about research that's interdisciplinary. And he provides lots of resources to faculty in the arts and humanities space, provides seed grants funding. He runs a fellowship program over the summer where he brings in external researchers that are experts in different fields, so they'll have a residency here during the summer. He also helps faculty in grant writing, so they do a summer course for grant writing. A couple of big Indianapolis projects that you may have seen or been a part of are these 2 here, and he's got some really exciting ideas for this next coming year. So Jason is the first wonderful human being. The second one is the second institute that reports up to us is called INDI, and this is the Integrated Nanosystems Development Institute, and this is run by Mangi Agarwal. Mangi was a faculty member in engineering and technology, the department that went over to Purdue in the split this last year. So so this institute, which has been around for a while, was really a collaboration between IU Indianapolis School of Science and Engineering and Technology, Purdue. So we decided, IU Indianapolis, we're going to take this institute. They're doing a great job. We're going to keep it running here and still collaborate with our Purdue colleagues as we can. So he's doing some really interesting work in the cancer space. He has a $1.2 million grant right now from the American Cancer Society that's looking at, you know how your dogs can sniff out epilepsy. We've seen that in the news, and they can sniff out all sorts of things. Well, he's doing some interesting work around prostate cancer and trying to isolate what is the biomarkers that they're picking up on, and that's step one. And then step two is to put it into a portable device so that you'd actually be able to detect prostate cancer out in the field. And so he's just really doing some remarkable work and has a nice team in place to do that. So that's Mengi. And then we have two new institutes that we've launched this semester. So the first institute is CBATI, Convergent Bioscience and Technology Institute, really wide umbrella when you think about those words. But we were fortunate enough to hire Dr. James Lin from the University of Cincinnati. James, and if you're not familiar with University of Cincinnati, they do a lot of work in the bio-life sciences that is probably a decade ahead of where IU Indianapolis wants to be. And so he's a good hire for us because he's been part of institutes interdisciplinary institutes that are crossing School of Medicine and engineering, which is exactly the direction that we're moving. So James started about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. He just got approval from our campus to hire 2 joint hires that will be affiliated with his institute. His research is in the area of of tissue regeneration. So he's a biomedical engineer by training. He's going to do great things, and we're very excited for him to be joining us. Was I going to add something with CBATI? Oh, yes. So let me also add in talking about biomedical engineering that if you didn't know, the Letty School of it's a lot of words after it, of computer science, technology, engineering, informatics. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, thank you. So the Letty School, which is here in Indianapolis, there are a lot of resources, and it's also in Bloomington. There are a lot of resources right now to expand Letty's footprint here in Indianapolis. And one of the ways they're expanding is they're creating a Department of Biomedical Engineering and Informatics. It used to be the Department of Informatics. Now it's the Department of Biomedical Engineering and Informatics. And they are currently recruiting for a department chair. So this is a wonderful area of research and of academic pursuit that is going hand in hand. James's appointment is in that new department, as is Mengi's appointment. And one of the 2 joint hires that James is pursuing will be in that department. And the area that they're looking for, and we'll be sure to share it with you, Rachel, so that you can share it with your network, is we're looking for someone who has expertise in biomedical engineering, specifically around wearables, because that's where we think we need to be in terms of research in the future. The next institute that we've launched is the Institute for Human Health and Wellbeing, or what I call H2W. We did a national search, and we're very fortunate to hire Steve Boehm, who is one of our own. He was the former department chair of psychology in our School of Science. Steve's area of research is in addiction science. He does animal models looking at binge drinking behavior, binge drinking and other addictions. Steve is wonderful in every way. I have tasked him to be a really strong liaison to the Regenstrief Institute. If you don't know, we have the IU Research Office has an MOU in place with the Regenstrief Institute that specifically provides resources to Regenstrief in the hopes that we can have a link to H2Ws. This is before we even hired Steve. Now Steve's here, and we're going to really hold him to that. He and James have to develop a strategic plan by the end of the calendar year, and we hope that he'll be asking Rachel or someone in the Regenstrief Institute to be part of that process to make sure that we're in alignment with what you all are doing and not in competition. Okay, so now let's move on to the consortia. So as I said, the consortia are provided a little bit of money from our office to really pull together faculty in certain areas of research expertise. And our first consortia that we launched is in AI and machine learning. And we've asked Xiaofan Fang to be the leader of that. Xiaofan is the Associate Dean for Research in the Letty School. And he's also running his own center within the Letty School. Do we have that title up here? It's not on there. So Xiaofan's done a great job of pulling together faculty. He holds on a regular basis these what he calls salons, where he brings in either external experts in AI, or he has some of the faculty that are in his network provide some updates on their research so that we can start pursuing large-scale grants that are interdisciplinary in nature. I hope you recognize this gentleman. So our next consortia is being run by Dr. Brian Dixon. This is in informatics. I know, obviously, Brian does, I don't know if Brian's in the room. I'm looking around. Okay, but anyway, so he does health informatics for you all here at Regenstrief, but we've asked him to think about informatics more broadly so that we could bring in faculty members from across IU Indianapolis, not just in the health fields. Brian's working really closely with Xiaofan because so much of what happens in informatics is also happening in AI, and so I think the two of them together have created some really nice programming for faculty and staff. So we've been very appreciative of his role. Our third one that we launched is, it's a long name, but it's Community Action. That doesn't seem right. Action. It's rebranding. Okay. She changed it and I didn't know. Community Action for Research on Health Equity Consortium. So we had in mind, again, this is from the RAT group that came together last summer. We had in mind that we would have one group that focused on health equity and we'd have another group that focused on community engaged research. But as I got to know IU Indianapolis, I quickly learned there is so much happening in the health equity space and there's so much happening in the community engaged space. I didn't want to create a new center or institute. Instead, I wanted Sylvia to really help us start bringing together faculty that are specifically focused on health equity as the outcome measure, but doing community engaged research. Sylvia also serves as a navigator for CTSI, and so she was really the perfect person to be in this role. And she's doing some similar activities that the other consortia directors are doing. The other major initiative that came out of the RAT last summer was if you're an urban research institute, you really need to be focused on sustainability as a major topic. We were told this not just by our internal group, but by some of our external stakeholders in the community. So we brought this to the president. We wanted to create a university-wide sustainability research institute. And we were told, yes, we think this is a good path for you to be on, but you didn't have the right people in the room to think it through because I only had the health deans in the room. I didn't have O'Neill, I didn't have Kelly, I didn't have all the other schools that are involved in sustainability. So we've started off as a consortia with Gabe Filippelli. I'm sure, I hope you've all heard of Gabe before. He seems to be on NPR every other week, but he's doing some amazing work out of the School of Science in the sustainability space. He and many others are. And so he's really now thinking about moving the consortia up to a center. And so we're going through the process of getting center approval for the work that he's doing for the Sustaining Earth Consortium. And I'm sharing these groups with you in case you have interest in these topics and would like to become, to get on the mailing list to learn about the activities that they're doing. The one that we just launched in August is the Health Economics Consortium, and I've asked Sumedha Gupta, who is a health economist in the School of Liberal Arts at IU Indianapolis, to lead this initiative. Sumedha is an amazing researcher and is working quickly to pull together the leading experts in health economics across IU. I know that Rachel's been responsible for hiring a few of them that have affiliations with Regenstrief, and so we are looking forward to working with those faculty and with faculty in Bloomington who are also health economists. We've got some health economists that were just hired by the Kelley School of Business, and we have health economists sitting in other locations in the School of Medicine. And I think you all just hired a new health economist in Fairbanks School, Parna. So we are super excited to get this group together. this is, we don't want to give people work. That's not the purpose of these consortia. It's when the big opportunities come up, either from industry or if there's an RFP coming out and we see that there's an opportunity for IU to compete, it's a way to share that opportunity with the faculty members to see if they want to come together. So what are the benefits of linking to an institute or consortia? I think collaboration is key and access to funding. We are also, because we're funded by the Office of Research, we don't have unlimited resources, but we do have some resources to put into the development of research cores. So that's something we're thinking about. Shockingly, other than Mangy's Nano Development Institute, we have no research cores at IU Indianapolis. School of Medicine has research cores, but we don't have any for IU Indianapolis. So it's definitely on our list this next year to think about how do we develop cores. It's for efficiency, if nothing else. It's for opening up some of our really exciting research equipment to our external partners. We have 2 clean rooms, I don't know if you know this, in our Innovation Hall on the Indianapolis campus that aren't being used. There are no clean rooms in Indianapolis, from what I understand. So we're now in the process of having industry partners come through and just showing them what we have available and saying to them, you want a piece of equipment that needs a clean room? Bring it to us, let our faculty have access to the piece of equipment, and then we're all going to benefit from this. So that's the kind of thing that we're working on. Other benefits, institutional alignment, bench to bedside to community application, of course. I also wanted to share with you that part of the funding, the $250 million investment in bio and life sciences, is to build a new building for us. This is at the intersection of New York. So this is New York Street, and this is Blackford. And so it's catty corner to our library on the IU Indianapolis campus. So this will be a 50,000 square foot interdisciplinary research building that is run by our office that will house our 4 institutes. It will be nice and shiny with new equipment, and it's going to be a way for us to lure faculty to come and work with us. It's going to have a 3D bioprinter lab in it that will be state of the art. We know that. And we are also going to have a humanities research lab because we believe that research spans all the disciplines, not just in STEM. So we want to make sure that we're responsive to that. So yeah, pretty excited. 2026, fall 2026. Can't get here soon enough. Other goals, disclosure, licensing of inventions. I kind of mentioned this already with the work that Russ is setting up around IP policy. I did want to mention that, we are also looking towards having partnerships with industries, with partners in the community. We're very proud of a master agreement we have in place now with Elevance Health, which allows us to, with faculty here and with the business or industry needs that they have, for us to help them and for them to help us. And we don't have a win yet, but we will soon. So that's our first one. We also have a very strong partnership with Analytics IN, at least in terms of this last round of funding that they've received. We have a partnership that we're about to launch with Cook Ventures through our Health Economics Consortia. And then we're very proud of the partnership that we have with the Regenstrief Institute. And let's see, what else? Goal 4 is supporting faculty excellence in research. I mentioned to you our 4 staff is Maylene Hsu. So she came to us from Penn. She's a librarian by training with expertise in systematic reviews. So she's the person that we're tasking to sit with faculty and staff who are creating proposals to help them understand what the RFP says, to help them make sure that that intro section of their grant proposal is beautiful and shiny, and to help them in any way she can. And so she's been a great asset to our office. We also do many coordinating activities. We have a monthly meeting with all the Associate Deans for Research, what we call the CAD. I think of my Associate Deans for Research as my portal to faculty. So any initiative that we do, we get feedback from the CAD to make sure that we're not off base. And then we also promote any of the activities we do through the CAD. You all also have access to the CAD. I think you've come to present to them, and any activities that you want to be broadcast across IUI, this is the portal for you. We also are launching this semester a development of a research incentive plan for faculty. So Bloomington, IU Bloomington just announced in July that they've got all these incentives in place for faculty to go after research. So they can get a return on salary savings that will give them a salary boost and all these other wonderful things. And we don't have it in Indianapolis. And so that's something that we have to work on. And so hopefully we'll see that by next January. We need to be aligned with our graduate school strategic plan. We shockingly are not right now. And so that's something that we're going to work on this semester. We do faculty networking events all the time. And if you are ever looking to find someone in research to have a drink with, go to the AMP typically on Friday afternoons. I feel like I am buying lots of drink tickets for anybody who wants to drink at the AMP. We love that space. I don't know if you all have been to events there. We love the space because it's community facing. And so when I get researchers up on the stage to do a 5-minute spiel on what they're doing, and a community member comes up to them afterwards and says, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know we did anything like that," that just, my heart pumps, because that's what we're all here for. And it's also neutral space. So I find our campus to be incredibly challenging to navigate. And that's where I work. So I can only imagine that community members think the same. So finding that neutral space at 16 Tech has been a joy. And stay tuned, because more's coming there soon, we hope. And that was what this was. That was just a little teaser. It's not official, but it's coming. And I think I'm almost done. Oh, except for Caleb, who's sitting right here. So Caleb, again, an amazing member of my team, and does pretty much everything that I do, but better. And one of the things that Caleb is doing, is running this year, is our research immersion program, which we call OneRIP. And so this was a program we designed last year for freshmen. Like, I want to get them when they walk in the door. I want to get those students who maybe didn't do any research in high school. I want to get those students who don't know what research is. And we want to expose them to all the types of research that happen within a university setting. And so that's what the OneRIP program is. It's 5 hours a week commitment. So really, even our students who are working, which many of them are, potentially have time to do the OneRIP. We give the students a little bit of a stipend. We give the faculty member who's running the project a little bit of a stipend. And we keep them for the whole year. This year, Caleb's making it an even stronger program, because he's providing some actual curriculum. So having them come in through Canvas and learning about IRB, what does that mean? What are all the different exposures to research? You have how many students in the program this year? 161 students, and that's how many faculty projects? 66. So we try to put at least 2 students in each project, so they've got a buddy. We're now just about ready to submit an IRB proposal to track our students who came through the program last year. We want to see, are we improving outcomes in terms of DFW and graduation retention rates? And in my perfect world, we would have external philanthropic funding to provide this opportunity to every single freshman that walks in the door. That is absolutely the flag I'm going to keep waving until I can't wave anymore. And then finally, we are also in our strategic plan, IU strategic plan, we do talk about international research. And so we are slowly working on this. We had a great visit to the AMPATH program in January. And from that, we've developed an MOU, or we're in the process of developing an MOU with Moy University to do some research outside of the School of Medicine. It's going to primarily be driven, I think, by the School of Public Health, Fairbanks School of Public Health. But we'll provide some seed grant funding to faculty and staff and students who want to be engaged in those projects. And then through the Indiana Health Industry Forum, which is about to change their name to I think it's the Life Sciences Industry Forum, I'm not sure, but they're about to change their name next week. We're setting up some collaborations with Scotland. Scotland, you ask? Well, let me tell you, Scotland's demographics are very similar to Indiana. I didn't know that, but it's true. And they're also they're similar in size, geography. So I don't know why this has been a long established relationship that they've had with Scotland. Okay, that's all I have. And I think we've got plenty of time for questions or comments or whatever you want. I'm just going to stare at you for the next 1 minute and it'll make you all uncomfortable. I can give you.
Oh, that's okay. This is great, Phaedra. Thank you so much. One of the questions that I get often, I'm just going to have to hand this back to you. Oh, okay. Yeah. One of the questions I get often about the new institutes that are coming up is how will they work with Regenstrief? And are these institutes competitive to Regenstrief because they're focused on health? So obviously I have my own answer and we've discussed this, but could you share that with our community, your input on that question?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's an important question. I think your board probably asked the question too. So the good news is that you've got a director of the Regenstrief Institute, and you've got me in place where we come from the world of collaboration. We come from public health, come from health services researchers, where you never work in isolation, you work as teams. So I think that's just part of our DNA, number one. Now, we're not going to be here forever, and so we want to make sure that we set up a structure that the relationship continues. So that was part of the reason why we set up an MOU. I don't want my institutes developing strategic plans that put us in competition. Just like I don't want there to be competition across the schools, that we have multiple groups doing health equity research and they're all going after the same grants. That's just not the way things should be run. So I think so the first answer, it's kind of part of our DNA. Second answer is we've got this MOU in place. And I don't know. I don't know what other things that we need to be doing. I think it could be joint hires. I think it could be making sure that on the front end of grant proposals, we have an MOU in place that says when we get this grant, this is how we're going to share the resources and make it equitable. Because I think that if you can get some of that stuff done on the front end, then all the problems on the back end go away. And I'm committed to it, and I know you are.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that what you said about Regenstrief being involved in the strategic planning of these new institutes is really critical. And that way we can voice, this is where our area and our sweet spot is, and this is where we think we could be really supportive of these new institutes and very collaborative in that way. And I think that we're still figuring that out in some ways, at least I am, being now here 17 months. What are the areas in which we as an institute, we are a support organization to IU, how can we serve the needs of IU and serve the needs of our Regenstrief investigators, our staff, and our community as well?
Can I share a personal anecdote with you about Rachel Patzer? So she told you that we met on study section for NIH. I was chair. If you've ever been on study section, the role of a chair is to write down every word that your reviewer says so that you can then say it back to the group. Rachel Patzer talks so fast and she is so smart, like really gives incredibly detailed reviews, one of the best on the whole panel. But to write down every word she says, like every time she had a proposal to review, I'm like, oh my God, like sweat starts pouring off me and I have to start writing. And I think I probably get every other word, every other comment, but anyway.
I'm also obsessed with efficiency, like our founder. And so I really want to get out of there on time. And I'm like, I don't want to be the one that gets the mark and gets the red, you're over time.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that anecdote. Other questions from our community? Because I can keep going. Thanks.
Was it on? Okay. Tons of fantastic stuff there. I'm reminded I never want to be a study section chair. That's like the worst role ever. I'm always excited about Russ's initiatives on $5+ million grants. I think many of us are thinking about how we get there. I've noticed, especially recently, some of these are like 3-month turnarounds, 6-month turnarounds, and you said you get a person for a year. I've noticed some cases where we need faster than that. So could you just share a little more about what that initiative looks like and how we best engage with that, even on like short turnaround proposals?
Yeah. it's a great question. I don't think we have all the answers to it yet. And really Chris Liu, I'm going to speak for him and I shouldn't do that because he runs that office. I think so I'll give you an example. So the NSF Engines grant pre-proposal was due a month ago. We had someone from School of Medicine, outstanding faculty member from School of Medicine who wanted to go for it. 3 months out. It's 5 million, I don't know how many millions of dollars it is. And it was a heavy lift. So she got full support from the Office of Research. She needed industry partners. She needed, that was the lift, right? The industry partners. Purdue was a partner, and that is not what we want to do. Like, we should have known NSF Engines is going to come out every year. I mean, there are certain you know your center proposals are going to come out on a regular cycle. So to me, as a faculty member who's going after these, or as a leader, you know that these things are coming and you should plan for it in advance. That's super important, and that's the message we need to get to our faculty. But in those cases where we don't have that much time, there still is a all hands on deck. Let's get it done. And so with this faculty member, I almost said her name, which I shouldn't do, but with this faculty member's proposal that went in on the pre-proposal phase, if she makes it, she's going to have 3 months to turn it around for a full proposal. So we're all ready. We'll know in November whether she makes it through. And we're, like I've told everybody that works for me, we're going to stop what we're doing and help her, because it's just, there's so much that we could gain as a university to get it. So it's planning. So like Jason Kelly, who runs my Arts and Humanities Institute, we had a meet last month when we met. I said, I want you to identify 4 grant proposals you're going to go after this year, specifically for the Ray Bradbury Center, which I'm trying to get some external funding for. And so he did. So he didn't know the due dates on some of them, but he knew they would be coming. And so we are lined up. We are lined up. So that's the kind of strategic planning, which you all do, I think, on a regular basis too. But I don't think it's in the mindset of all faculty to do that. So that's part of our messaging through the institutes. Yeah, good question.
I have a question from the online community. This is from David Hagstrom. You have assembled and highlighted an amazing group of scientific leaders. Thanks for introducing your research vision and team to the Regenstrief Institute. Could you share more of the initial goals or aims of the Institute for Human Health and Wellbeing?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. So, and I'm going to start with the downside and then the upside. So the downside to these 2 institutes that we launched is the umbrella is incredibly large. Human health and well-being, could anybody, I challenge you to give me one research that couldn't fall up under human health and well-being. So that was a problem in recruiting, to be honest. But we did that specifically because I was thinking that the direction of these institutes would be driven by the directors that were hired. And certainly in Seabati's case, that is true. James coming here as a biomedical engineer, we're going to move in the direction of biomedical engineering for that institute. So human health and well-being, we've now hired Steve, and Steve is in addiction science. There's great work happening in addiction science in Bloomington already. So I think there's some opportunities for IU Indianapolis to link more. We have the Gill Center, we have the Ursay Institute, where there has been some, but not strong enough linkages to IU Indianapolis, in my opinion. So that needs to happen. But the other vision we have for institutes is that research centers would bubble up underneath them, because the Office of Research funding is flowing into the institutes. And so if you're someone who wants to launch a research center in sports and human performance, as an example, you might come up under the alignment under H2W, because then you've got the Office of Research at your back, which you want. So I could imagine that there are several areas that will happen in H2W immediately. And this is just me hypothesizing, but I'm probably in a good position to do that. So sports and human performance is one. Maybe health economics comes up underneath H2W. We have what's Clayton's group called? We have got an autonomous and electrified Anyway, I'm not going to get the words right, but an autonomous vehicles group that is already a center based on their external funding. Their grant's about to end, but they want to go into round 2. Where does it sit? The person who was the director is leaving. So now I'm trying to find a new home or a new lead for this. It could come up under H2W because a lot of the work they do is around food pantry and how autonomous vehicles can help food pantry. That fits up under well-being. So the umbrella is large. I can't tell you where the direction is going to be 5 years from now, but I can tell you the places that Steve is likely going to start given his areas of research and the interests that already exist in Indianapolis.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
This is working. I'm just gonna talk and you can repeat it if you need to for those online. So there we go. A follow-up question in terms of recruitment. So, and thinking about the centers that you are already envisioning that might be a part of this, I wondered if you could elaborate a little bit about, are there existing faculty on campus that you believe will be a part of this? To what extent do you think you might have more recruitment, external versus internal in some of these new institutes?
Yeah,
Thanks.
That's a great question. So last year, we put out a call to all the deans to submit joint hire proposals, which hasn't really been a thing at IU Indianapolis, with the exception of Fairbanks, I think, has done some joint hires. And some of us have done joint hires with Regenstrief. But outside of that, most of the schools have not come together to consider joint hires. So last year we put out this call. This is after CBATI and H2W were launched. And we said, give us your proposals where the faculty would align with H2W or CBATI. We got over 30 proposals. And the chancellor, our now permanent chancellor, has just approved 4 of those joint hires, 2 for CBATI, 2 for H2W. I'm looking at you, Caleb, because when I don't know the answer, I'm just hoping you do. I know one of the hires for CBATI is a joint hire between Luddy and Health and Human Sciences. The 2 for H2W, one of them is a joint hire between the O'Neill School of Public and Environmental Affairs and School of Science. So that's likely going to be in the sustainability space. And the second one out of H2W is what? School of Science and School of Health and Human Sciences. All right, so that's external hires. Now that's only 4 faculty. If we were in Bloomington, this is going to sound, maybe I shouldn't say it. I'm going to be snarky for a second, but all right, I'm going to be snarky. So Bloomington has their Faculty 100 initiative. So their provost has a lot of resources to do a lot of hiring that can serve the research mission as well. We don't have that luxury here in Indianapolis. I was able to get 4 this year for the institutes. But my job is to go after more resources. So next year I'll be going after another ask to be aligned with the institutes. It could be a 2 and 2. I need to be pursuing external philanthropic dollars for endowed chair positions that would be aligned with the institute. So that's my job and I'm working on it. But your question about internal faculty, there's absolutely a role. And so now with the institute directors developing their strategic plan, I want to see in that plan, how are faculty and staff going to be aligned with the institutes? What are you going to give them? What's in it for the faculty member? What's in it for the dean that's allowing, quote unquote, allowing their faculty member to be affiliated? So there'll be things in there like seed grant funding, we'll buy you a postdoc, those kinds of things that will encourage faculty to join us. And don't forget, I have that beautiful, bright and shiny building that will be a lure. That's the plan. Yeah. All right, I think we're at time. And so with that, I say thank you so much and come and talk to us if you want more information.
Thank you so much.